quite a few technical issues, but this morning was not that. It was absolutely just a dog explosion, which is what I would call it, where I woke up and missed the chance to take them out, so had to clean up everything. So these are hand reviews from yesterday. Yesterday kind of really had a theme I was harping on where I was trying to say how important it is to not level yourself and bet in scenarios where you should be able to make the other player fold because they shouldn't have much. And it's percentage plays, of course. So there's a lot of examples of that. So we're going to go through those pretty quickly. I haven't reviewed the hand specifically, but I marked over 30 of them. So, and this was over the course of playing about 875, 900 hands between 6 or 7 tournaments. I forget. 8 entries. That's what it was. So it comes up fairly common, and my red line yesterday was huge. The amount of pots you steal versus the amount of pots you win. Like I took horrible beats, and I still went really far in tournaments because I was just steal the whole time. That's how you win poker tournaments. So we see a raise here out of early position player. I don't believe. Let's see here. Yeah, everybody was in. So first 2 players fold. He raises in the low jack. Ace 10's kind of near my line at this point in the tournament. It's very early. You can see we're very deep stacked, but I decided to go ahead and 3-bet because I'd like control here. Flop comes off. I have a king. King's good for my range. He checks. We bet small. He calls. This is just a standard third pot bet. And this is the way we're expecting the hand to go. 90% of these, you're going to see a call on the flop. Now, you can't bet bigger to make them fold because that doesn't work, because it doesn't look right. You can't bet, you can't check the flop because without betting, it also doesn't look right. So you have to make this third pot standard bet every time. Because if you change the size of the bet, something was done differently, and that sets off alarm bells in players' heads. Even bad players are like, why is he doing that? And they'll just keep calling on later streets. But the meta right now in poker is you must bet twice. So he calls. We still have air balls and no hope. But we go ahead and bet. And this is the correct bet if we had ace king or king queen or pocket aces or a set or something like that. This is how we would bet it. We're just betting, down for aggressive value. And we let him level himself. So here with a king 10, he can just fold. What can call us here? Right? Ace king would have 4-bet pre-flop, most likely. I know we're very early in the tournament. But what can keep calling us? Pocket 4s, pocket deuces, yeah. Pocket jacks is kind of done, though. So we just steal all the pots that don't belong to us by equity and crush the tournament. Let's go on to the next one. Here's another ace 10. Shortly after, a different tournament. We see a min open. We're in the big blind. I like a defend here. Sometimes I like a 3-bet. Our stacks are far shorter. Why am I all the way down here? I'm sorry. We're going to go back up. Yeah, I wanted to go to that one, right? Yeah. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. We'll do that one later. It's more important later. We see a limp at a second, which is kind of stupid. And we see a limp on the button, which is kind of really stupid. So we just go ahead and limp along because we're so deep. I didn't want to make a stupid raise without reason. Ace 10's a good reason, but we want to see what happens. I think raising to 4 big blinds here would have been enough for me just to find out if this player was trapping. But doesn't matter. He calls, button folds. I don't know what the button has that he calls and then folds for this raise. So I call. The flop comes off with an ace on it. Backdoor spade draw. It's pretty good, but a player out of the big blind could definitely have a better ace. So we check to him. He checks now. And the original limper leads, which, again, doesn't make sense. Now, people in chat, there was some talk about this later. People were like, oh, that's aces. Is it, though? Is it, though? The point of limping aces or kings in early position is so that you can spring the trap pre-flop, right? So this guy makes it 5, and then it goes back to this original guy, and he can even just open the betting by just min-clicking quickly, because we are so deep. So he can just reopen the betting right there, right? Which makes the button fold, which makes me fold, goes back to the guy who raised in the big blind, makes him do something stupid. So the trap ain't on, man. So what hand is he betting like this, right? A weakish ace, maybe two spades, possible. Um, I mean, pocket threes is probably the most likely monster hand that we see right now. But it just seems super fishy to me because I don't know what hand you feel comfortable betting this much on the flop into four players or into three players. Or, sorry, into a three-way pot after limp calling pre. So it really doesn't make sense to me. And this is the perfect scenario for my ace 10. So I just go ahead and call. And I felt very good about this one. Queen of spades on the turn, man. I got the nut spade draw. I got the gut shot. I'm never going anywhere. My dude bets one big blind, and this was kind of a weird scenario. And I've seen this is an old move by a player named Dusty Schmidt, who is one of the best players online who's ever been. He's actually known as Leather Ass. He took that name before he started playing from Rounders, obviously. But this is his movies of checking the other player with a chip. Now, usually it's a move where you've been aggressive on the, flop and on the turn, and then on the river, you're just checking. You're out of position. You're trying to check somebody with a chip. So you just bet one big blind. If I was in the small blind and had re-raised that on the flop and then led the turn, and then the river came off and I just threw one chip out there, it kind of skips people's brains. And I hadn't seen this move in a long time. And, it just makes them call. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, what the hell? But it's usually just a cash game move. So I do raise, and I make a sizable raise to 23 blinds, and he folds. And the point here is that when somebody's doing something stupid, just go ahead and raise. And the fact of the matter is, I could definitely have been beat. You know what I'm saying? He could have had the ace three of diamonds. He could have definitely had like king queen of diamonds. And now he doesn't know what's going on, right? I can have ace queen, ace three, ace king, all those things. I mean, there's just too many hands, right? Plus the spades. So I think this is one where betting is good because a small percentage of the time we get the best hand to fold because our equity is through the goddamn roof, and it's just very hard for him to have a really good hand. So yeah, it's just an interesting example. And that one chip bet kind of gave it away. But I like betting there more than trapping to bet. I kind of went for a small value bet, but I wanted to get some chips in the pot. So, hang on. There we go. Ace King. Love Ace King. We see a min open. We go ahead and 3-bet. It's not always great to do this when you're this deep in chips, but why not? So there's the flop. Obviously, it's better for... or it's not exactly great for our actual hand. I decided to go a little bit bigger here. Normally the bet is like 6.5, but I figured coming out of the small blind versus this player particularly, I kind of wanted to make it seem like I was playing a bigger pair incorrectly. So I wanted to make the read obvious for him. So this is why I chose this bet. I find it interesting. He does take a card off. He wants to see me bet again. There's a 10 on the turn. And we just keep firing. There's just no reason to stop. Like, what hand here? Like, he's usually got just two big cards. King, queen, king, jack, queen, jack. Hey, what's up, Punisher? You know what I'm saying? It's just, there's just nothing really that this board improves. And when that's the case, a guy with the lead pre-flop should have the best hand, right? We should have all the pairs. So he just folds, but that's an example of you got to bet twice. And there's so many of those. Let's see here. We see a raise. We decide to go ahead and call. This is an interesting one. Flop comes off with the worst spade draw in the world. So there's nothing really aggressive we need to do now. Our range is wide open, right? Because we didn't 3-bet. We're in the blind. He's on the button, so he's opening wide. But we have the deck, so we can have all of this. He checks, a 7 on the turn, and I check it again. He checks, and a 9 on the river. And this is one where I feel like I lose a lot. So I decided to take a flick at it because I don't like just checking down and never taking a chance. And plus, I don't want this player to think that it's okay to raise my blind and then see the whole board. I don't want it to send that message. So this is how I played it, and this is like playing a small value bet. Like, let's say I flopped a flush. That's probably the way I would play it, right? Or if I flopped like 8-7, this is exactly the way I would play it, because I would be like, I have everything I can't ever bet. So I just went for a reasonable value bet on the river, and he folded. And winning pots like this with one bet, it's a great little talent to have, because these little chips add up. How are you doing? Watched how you finished the tournament on the VOD. Very unlucky, my man. Yeah, it's funny because it happened twice. Both the tournaments that I went deep in, I went out of the first one before that in 24th place with Kings versus Pocket 10s, who had me covered, and Pocket 5s. Or no, yeah, Pocket 10s had me covered, and then Pocket 5s had... We both had him covered, but it was for like 90% of my chips. And he labored for a long time and then called, and he hit the 5. And I beat the guy with the 10s, but I was left with dust. Like, there was just nothing left to do, so I went out in 24th place there. And then I went out in 12th with Kings versus... God, I think I blocked it out. What was it? It was some pair. Jacks or something? Yeah, it was Jacks, I think. And the guy hit a Jack. And I went out 12th in that one. So it's like... And in both cases, the really funny part, in both cases, if I'd won the pot, I would have tripled the first one and had 5 million chips with 23 players left, which would have been the chip lead. And it would have been about... I think that would have been like a third of the chips in play. No, a quarter of the chips in play. And then in the other one, I would have had 5,000 chips with 11 players left, which would have been second in chips heading to the final table. So brutal beats. But it's poker, man. Like, I was just aggravated at the moment, but yeah, it's like whatever. Just FYI, I am a very casual poker player. I play tourneys maybe once a month, but I enjoy the strategy so much. I learned a lot from you and Lex, and I grind this. Yeah, Lex, man. Lex gets into the deep stuff. I like the way he talks. It's interesting. I can't learn from everybody. I don't think everybody can learn from everybody. Some coaches and some people on, like, even on this coaching site, on Jonathan Little's coaching site, some of them I'm like, I know they're a genius, but my brain doesn't jive. But the ones that jive with your brain, it really comes a long way. And you don't have to, like, be a crazy all the time poker player, dude. I was out of the game for over a year and a half because of, financial stuff while I was driving Uber. I played maybe 3 or 4 times over that course of time because I was just too upset to, like, just play cash games, like, online little bits when I could, and I was working a ton. But I never stopped studying. And, yeah, the one thing that stuck to me was stick to your story. Yeah, it's got to be a consistent story, and you can't level yourself. I think the main thing, the reason why people don't do as well as they should, is they sit there going, why did he call? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You had a plan. Execute the plan. Make sure it's valid. Make sure that what you're doing makes sense overall, and forget about what your cards are. It goes position, stack, cards. Cards are the last consideration unless you have good cards. The rest of the time, we all get the same cards. It's about who plays them better. So, position, stack, cards. Now, when you're big stacked, it's stack, position, cards. When you're short stacked, it's position, cards, stack. You know what I'm saying? Like, they all have different values at different times. But throughout most of the tournament, it's position, stack, cards. That's the things that matter. So betting this one and taking it down with one bet is good. We just don't want to see a guy roll over like ace, full ace 10 and beat us, right? Or ace jack, which is reasonable. In all likelihood, he probably had 2 Broadway cards, but why show down? Like, why let him show down this? You know what I'm saying? Fuck that. Take a shot, man. Oh, I think I remember this one. It's very early for me, man. Like, I woke up, had to clean up after the dogs, and then I took them out, fed them, and then I literally, like, started the computer and fired it up, and just started doing this with you guys. Like, I'm still, like, very, like, it's a wake up with me. I'm still very tired. And by the way, if you ever have a chance to have these, I love, CBD products. Like I don't fuck with weed anymore because the psychoactive nature of it. I'm in love with my reality too much, and I've had too many brushes with breaks in reality that I don't really like messing with my perception anymore. But I love CBD. I have a lot of body inflammation, and these little 100 milligram uh, CBD gummies. This brand was amazing. I mean, it like shut my brain off. I what happened was I have this idea for a supercut from yesterday where it's like you see me after the edit going, I raise, of course I raise, I raise, I raise, I raise, I raise. You got to bet twice. I raise, I raise. Pairs are hard to make. I raise. And when you see things like that, it's like I cut out like 45 minutes of stuff for clips from yesterday's 5 hour VOD, and then I'm cutting that down, and I'm trying to get it down to like, I don't know, 4 minutes, right? Or 3 minutes. Like the shorter it is, the better, because I want it to be fast. And I learned Shotcut yesterday, which is an editing program that I've been trying to learn. So I was trying to practice on that and learn. I took one of these, I walked the dogs, I came back and said, let's start cutting. And I sat there, and for 3.5 hours, I was just like spacebar, spacebar, cut, cut, spacebar, spacebar, play, cut, spacebar, play, cut. And I was just totally like, vong. Like, so these things are pretty good, man. Like it shut off my brain, and I just focused in and just did this one thing for like 3 hours. And I got through a good portion of the edit. It's going to take more time, but it's cool because I learned how to do a thing, So, oh look, people got people coming in. That's pretty cool. Arabs have pie poker. What's up, whale pig? All right, let's get to this one. I think I remember this hand. I think it's pretty good, but I don't know. I'm like half asleep. So we raise in the low jack. We get a call out of the small blind. Big blind folds. I mean, there are some hands you can fold here, but it's good to note that with 40 big blinds, man, 44 big blinds, a lot of people aren't folding anything for 6-1. That being said, there are some hands, but it's very rare. But it's a good thing to keep an eye on. If you see this once, it's whatever. But if you see it twice, you can kind of go, there shouldn't be two hands you can fold there for that price, that close together if I notice it. Flop comes off with an ace on it. We do have the backdoor spade draw to the nut block, or to the nuts. So he checks. We go ahead and make our standard bet. The pots it's an awkward pot sizing, and plus we're very short on chips. So I'm kind of trying to leverage my whole stack here. He does call. I mean, the player's got 70 blinds, so it kind of seems scary, I know. But you have to make sure your bets make sense. He checks the turn, and instead of betting all in, we're doing this where we're saying, I'm not going to fold. Right? Now, if he re-raised jams here, here's the truth. I'm calling. Okay? I don't love it, but I'm calling. In that instance, is it better for me to jam all in and try to win the pot right there? Or is it better for me to make this bet where he knows I'm obviously committed to the pot? I've raised pre-flop, I've bet the flop, now I've bet the turn, and because of the size of my stack, he knows I'm not going to fold, but he doesn't know why. The truth of the matter is, I have bottom pair and the nut flush draw. Or I have second pair and the nut flush draw. What we don't want to do is jam all in here and let somebody with ace 10 make an easy call, right? If he has ace 10, it's kind of an easy call if I jam because it's about a 1-to-1 stack to pot ratio. He's got the chips to spare. And it just is like, well, I called the flop. I mean, how often does this guy have ace queen, ace jack, or ace king? Not very. So we just go ahead and go. But how much fucking scarier does it look when I bet small and I'm just like, you can call this. Like over there with your ace 10 or ace 9, you're like, fuck, I might be dead. And then why do I want to throw away an additional 13.5 blinds? So this is one where you take a short stack and leverage it like it's a big stack. Because him losing those 13 blinds would hurt. He doesn't want to lose, 20% of his stack. You know what I'm saying? And plus he's already lost some money. He doesn't want to throw good money after bad. So, let's leverage our stack. He calls. He checks the river. And now we jam. kind of just looks like you're beat, right? Like, the sixes pair off, and if you have an ace here, it's kind of hard to fold. But how often am I doing this with ace jack? Not really that often, right? Like, from this guy's point of view. That being said, he could have had some draws like 7-9, but I don't think he keeps drawing on the turn there. He could have had our hand, but he could have had like the jack of spades, but I really think he had an ace here. And now with the board pairing, it should be a chop a lot, but I think he'll feel like he's an idiot if he just calls. So people also don't want to look stupid, so we get the fold. And it's important to note here, we started the hand with 18.5 big blinds, and he had 72. So we shouldn't be that much of a threat, but through our betting structure, our hand looked so much stronger than it was, and we end the hand with about 30 blinds, right? Like 29.9. So we increased our stack by 2/3 here by playing it this way instead of just jamming the turn like we're an idiot. Because an ace easily calls that jam on the turn. You know? So I think it's just important to understand the full story you're telling. You know, don't tell a short story, man. Tell a novel, and let his brain fill in the blanks. You know what I'm saying? My bets make sense for one way, and eventually this guy's brain will level himself and fill in the blanks of, oh no, I lose. Because this was the example of the color of money that I said where, Orvis don't mind losing, but he don't want to give it away. People don't mind losing, but they don't want to feel like they just never had a chance, right? And I think in this scenario, he never had a chance. Or the story means he should never have a chance. My actual hand, I think, loses here. I think he rolls over ace-5 a lot, and I just take it in the shitter. But by not jamming the turn, we made it easy for him to play correctly, which means he folds to us. This ace-8 is interesting. It doesn't play out the way people would think on a hand review, but it's interesting. So we see a raise out of second position. We go ahead and just call. The button makes it 6 big blinds, which is kind of stupid. Like, it's a low bet. Because of the tempo in the tournament we were in, my immediate read was that he had a pair, something like maybe 9s or 10s. The bet here should be bigger. With this guy's 2, my 2, his 2 makes 6, 7, 7.5, 8.5. Should be the minimum thing that he should go to here. Should be 8.5. Maybe you can go 8 big blinds because he's on the button and he has the positional advantage. Personally, if I have 10s or jacks here, I'm going to go about 9. Just because when this player jams, I don't want to make a tough decision, right? So if I make it 9 here, right, this player can jam for a total of 30. This player folds, obviously, and it comes back to me, and now it costs me 21 big blinds to win 53. That's an easy call with jacks in this exact scenario. So you just make your life easier. When you raise here to 6 and he jams, now you have to call 24. It's kind of even money. And it doesn't sound like much, but it really is important. So just a side note. But we call it, and we hit the 8. The 8 should be good here a lot. Like, I unless he has exactly an overpair, but I think there are hands that beat us that will fold to us if we bet properly, like pocket 9s. 10 jack can get overplayed. I do think there's a world in which pocket 7s, you know what I'm saying? Like, we now beat pocket 7s, but they would think 7s would be the best hand. So I decided to just go ahead and check and see what he does. He bets micro. So my exact read at this moment, I know you're not supposed to make exact reads. You're supposed to have a range. But my exact read was he had pocket 9s. So I decided that if that's the case, how do I get him to put me on a 10? It's not raising here. It's calling. The deuce hits the turn. That allows for bluffing opportunities later. I just go ahead and check, and he does check back. Now, this is the interesting part. The river comes off an 8, and this has kind of screwed up my plan to look cool, but it's helped my plan to win the tournament. So now I obviously have the best hand, just obviously. Like, there's no world in which he has a full house here, like, ever. So I decided it was better to This is an interesting scenario where you're gonna get called the same percentage of the time, no matter what the bet here is. If I bet 6 big blinds and he makes a hero call, I think that gets called as often as betting 20 big blinds because you want to be polar. You want to look like you have nothing, maybe some small value, or you want to look like you're really trying to bluff. And in those instances, let's say in those instances, no matter what I bet, I get called 25% of the time, right? Pot odds and all that go out of the window when you have scenarios like this. This is like rivering a set when you had the underpair and you were being aggressive. You know, it's the same amount of time. So you can find the bets that get you called. My camera's a little blocked. You can find the bets that get you called in this instance the same amount of the time. So it doesn't matter what size they are, right? So if that's the case, that we're only going to get called 25% of the time, I believe, if I were bluffing, I would bet small value. Because then it's like, I only have to win 25% of the time. I'm just going to go ahead and bet 6 or 7 blinds here. And if he's got something he can call me with, cool. If he wants to make a hero call, cool. Like if I had just ace high here, that's kind of what I would do. If I had like the ace 5 of diamonds or something, or ace 4 of diamonds or something, or hearts, that's kind of what I would do. But in this instance, I have the value hand. So if I'm still going to get called the same amount of the time, why not bet fucking huge, man? So that's what I decided to do. And I bet 20 blinds. And I remember this taking a long time for him to fold, like a super long time. So I really thought I was going to get called. And it was obviously the best move to make a big bet. Betting 18 here doesn't get called if 20 doesn't. It's not one of those times. So I like the big bet in that instance. He did fold. I think we had the best hand all the way, but I do think he had a pair, like something like 7s or 9s. It's kind of interesting, though. I think he might have even been contemplating it with, like, ace-queen. Ace-queen of hearts plays exactly that way. Bad players play it that way. So it's an interesting thing, but a good spot to recognize that if you're going to get called 1 in 3 times no matter what you bet, well, when you're bluffing, bet small. Because it doesn't matter if you bet more. If you're going for value, bet huge, because it doesn't matter that you're betting huge. So keep that in mind. It's a good little thought process. And those spots aren't that common in tournaments, but they do come up. I'd say on river showdowns like that, I'd say they come up about 1 in 100. So it's significant. So we see a min raise, we see a call and a fold. So of course I call, getting infinite to 1. The flop comes off with an open ender. I am short here, and I'm looking to re-enter this tournament at this point. So I'm looking to check raise jam here. That was originally my plan. Like, I'm at half stack, and I want to re-enter this tournament, so I'm looking to get the money in. So, but unfortunately, just everybody just checked. So that sucked. The turn comes off a king. I was going to, like, bet the turn, but now the worst card comes off for me, a king. You know what I'm saying? This player bets small, which I think means he has a king quite often. He can also have... He can have pocket 10s. I don't think he has many draws, because this is just kind of like a flick bet. This is like I have a pair. If you don't have a pair, you can't keep going. And if a draw comes off, I can get away easily. He calls, the river comes off the queen, and I immediately jam all in. The spade is what I'm representing. I immediately jam all in because I have 1-to-1 stack to pot ratio, and I just wanted to make it look like I was super excited, which seems dumb, but the fact of the matter is I still have all my chips in the middle, and he doesn't want to hero call me for a 1-to-1 SPR where he has to be good 1 in 3 times. So he just folded. So this is a raw bluff where we just let the board play out like we could have easily had a spade. Yeah, it's, hey, I have a flush. Exactly. Like, that's the move, man. And like I said, this isn't as brave as it seems, because I am willing to re-enter, because I believe if we re-entered, we ended up with like 40 big blinds. But doesn't it make an awful lot of sense that I would be the guy in the big blind who just called with like 10-9 of spades, and then checked around the flop and we got a flush draw with a gut shot, and then the river comes off, we make a flush, and now it's like, okay, if you have 2 pair, you have to call this. I know he never has 2 pair here. I know that. But you're not going to call this with 1 pair. So it's a great spot to jam, and it got the fold through. And again, we only have 16 blinds here, man. This dude's got like 89. This is not a significant portion of his stack overall, but old Orvis, he don't mind losing, but he don't want to give it away. You know what I'm saying? So people don't like to look stupid, and when doing the wrong thing would make them look really like if he called me here with King 10 and loses, he looks fucking stupid as shit, and people think that matters. It doesn't matter at all. I've done it live where I've made the wrong call or made a bad bluff, and the person, makes the good call against me, and it was a tough call, and I've literally said, that's a great fucking call, man. That's a great call. It's your pot. And they go, I want to see your hand. And I go, oh, I'm full of shit. And I just turn the card over, and everybody goes, wow. And I'm like, yeah, I like doing that. It's a lot of fun. And, but, like, I don't have, like, that shame thing in my head. Like, I don't get embarrassed, man. I'm kind of cracked that way after years of playing poker. Like, there's very little you can do to embarrass me. I really don't give a fuck. But you have to get over that in poker. You have to be willing to like make the move and get caught. So fuck it. But this is an interesting hand, and it shows again how we leverage our stack. People just don't want to look stupid. I don't mind looking stupid. I thought I was stupid my whole life until I learned I had a learning disability. So maybe that's an advantage. I really thought I was stupid my whole life until I was about 32, and then by happenstance found out I was dyslexic and learned why my brain was working the way it did and why I wasn't good in school, and it actually helped me develop and start learning things more intensely, and I relearned how to read. I had to relearn how to read properly, just the way I formed structures at 32 years old, because the way I was reading was so inefficient, and I loved to read. I mean, I'd read over 300 poker books with that learning disability. But once I relearned how to read, like, not for nothing, I'm kind of a really fast reader and comprehender now. It's kind of gross. So I don't mind if people think I'm stupid, man. As long as I don't think I'm stupid, I'm cool. So and when I make moves like that, I don't feel stupid. I feel like a fucking genius, and when they work, I feel brave to make because it's one thing to know the theory, it's another thing to be able to pull the trigger, right? Like, you can go to a boxing gym and hit a bag, for years, and then when you get into a fight on the street, you'll just go like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, people just do that. Like, you have to be able to pull the trigger. And that comes through repetition. It's like you are Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z walking around with all the weights all your life and then taking them off. Honestly, that's a very good analogy. It's a very good analogy. Because, yeah, I had the learning disability, and I was in the closet and all like that. There was a lot of things holding me back. I love that. I'm kind of hurt that you didn't give me credit for being Goku, because he did the same thing. But that's okay, man. Piccolo's cool. I love Piccolo. And he can regenerate, so I guess that's better, right? Nobody gets credit for Goku off the bat. I get it. So, yeah. So we got the pocket fives here. It gets folded to us. I like that. Didn't give me credit for Goku. So we raise, just standard open. We're deeper in this tournament here. We are stacked up, but we can still get hurt. You know what I'm saying? Goku's cliche. I figured go with it. Yeah. Okay. All right. I can go with that. That's cool. It's better than the Superman analogy of just being normal and then going to Earth, right? So yeah. All right. So we get called. I don't know what the big blind folds here. Again, this is just probably not great. You can only fold like 5% of hands here for this price, but whatever. Maybe he had 7 deuce. So flop comes off. We see a check out of the small blind. It is 3 players, and you can really feel like you shouldn't bet here a lot because of the other 2 players in the pot. But here's the thing. The button, he's got so many fucking chips that if he had anything decent, he would have 3-bet. So it's very rare for him to have a jack. A lot of times here, he's going to have a pair with us. He's going to have a pair of pocket 7s, pocket 6s, pocket 8s. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to 3-bet that really versus one opener. You kind of just want to set mine. But that beats us. So I better bet, right? And we don't have to bet huge. Same deal out of the small blind. He's getting a great price. And if you remember that part of the story where they got a great price, we could just bet and make them fold. And this is one where you just can't talk yourself out of betting. That's why that example's in here. Like, don't sit there leveling going, what do they have? It doesn't fucking matter. It does not matter. Make them respond to your bet first. Sun Tzu said, if your spear hits flesh, continue. If your spear hits iron, pull back. That means we're not going to stop our attack until somebody gives us a reason. Until we meet resistance, we're going to keep on attacking the whole way. And don't get in your head like, I just did this 5 times in a row. Okay, do it 6. If the situation warrants it, do it 6. Do it 20. I've had times where I've literally raised, like, no joke, I think my personal best in a tournament, we were on the bubble. I was the chip leader. I think I opened, I think it was like 28 pots in a row. And this was like, we were six-handed. Six-handed. And I just had so many chips, there was just no reason to ever fold. I mean, I did it with every hand. And the table I was on, they were all like medium to short stacks. And by the time the bubble broke, they were all short stacks. And I was like, they're just not willing to go broke. So it's just like raise, raise, raise. It was like 28 hands in a row, something like that. It was a couple years ago. And that kind of really taught me the lesson that in certain situations, it doesn't matter what I do. They still can't respond to it. I played a tournament at the Golden Nugget, a live tournament. This is like 3 or 4 years ago. And they had like a $500K guarantee, and the buy-in was, it was like $150. And it was a great tournament, a great structure. And I decided to play it, and we were on the money bubble. And I was doing okay. It wasn't great, but I was like, oh, wait a minute. These players are fucking terrified. So I started opening every pot. Just everything. Everything from the low jack and later position that was folded to me, I opened. If I was in the small blind, I 3-bet. I just kept going and going and going and going. And we went into the bubble, I had about 25 blinds. And when the bubble burst, I had about 60. And I literally couldn't believe how effective it was. But this one hand stuck out in my mind. This player was in the big blind, and I was obviously stealing every one of his big blinds because I was when I was in the cutoff, I think he was in the big blind. And like the 5th or 6th time I did this, probably 3rd or 4th, he sat there and he's just shaking his head and he's looking at the clock, and we're near the money, but there's like 2 or 3 players left, but he doesn't want to risk it, and he looks at me and he goes, I know what you're doing. And I go, you do? And he goes, yeah, I know exactly what you're doing. And I go, well, if you know what I'm doing, then you know how to respond to it. And he's like, yep, but I won't. And then he folded, and that stuck with me because he knew I was stealing, and he knew how to shut me down on his big blind, but he couldn't make himself pull the trigger. See, that's the thing. When I know something, I act on it. And it took a lot of time to build that courage. But if I saw a guy doing this to me, I would be 3-betting him way light. Because it's like, dude, I get it. I'm going to do this too. But you're not going to do this to my blind. So I'm going to make you back off. So I'm just going to 3-bet the second time he does it near the bubble and see what the fuck happens. If he's got the balls to jam all in, I can go, okay. And then I might turn over a trash hand and show him that I was like, I was having some fun with you. And that'll make him think maybe I don't raise this guy's button or a big blind because he's kind of a maniac. So it works both ways. Even if I lose the pot, I back him off. But this guy was like, I know what you're doing, but I'm going to let you do it. And it's like, oh, you fucking loser. And I went on to do really well in that tournament. I didn't final table, but I think I came in like top 40 or something like that. And there was a lot of players. Obviously, it was over like 1,000. And there was a couple thousand actually. I ended up getting top 40, and it was like 5 times the buy-in. But I was really in a good position to win the tournament after that stealing, because I had so many chips at that point. Like I wasn't top 10, but I was probably, I think we cashed at like 100 players or something like that. Yeah, because there was like 600 in the tournament or something. I don't know. Yeah, 1,600. So we cashed at like, I don't know, whatever it was, 245, whatever it was. I think I would have been like top 60 or 50 in chips, which was cool. Sorry, I just got stuck on that story. Because it's a good example of when you know what to do, you still have to pull the trigger. So we opened a 2.5. It's reasonable, with our stack sizes. We're not that deep in this tournament. Player 3-bets. I don't see the point in 4-betting. I'm in position. Maybe if I was out of position, right? Like if I had raised here and he re-raised. But we can just call. Keep our range wide. We make the ace. He's going to have an ace a lot, but we have the second best ace. He bets standard C bets, so we go ahead and call, see what develops. There's no reason to raise here if we have him beat. We don't want to keep him from bluffing. If we don't want to pile chips in his face. Turn comes off, now he checks. I'm not checking ace-king here if I'm him. So the most likely hand to 3-bet me and then play the hand this way for pot control is ace-queen. And it seems unlikely, but I really feel like this guy had ace-queen. He could have had ace-jack for sure, but that's kind of loose, and the player was very solid. But I think a lot of times it's ace-queen. So knowing that, I decided to go ahead and set up a river jam. Because if he has ace-queen and I have ace-queen and he's out of position, I'm going to win this pot, man. So he calls. The river comes off at 10. He took a long time and then checked. And I just went ahead and piled it. Because this is all that makes sense. Right? Like, if I have ace-king here, this makes sense. You know, if I have pocket sixes, this makes sense. If I have pocket deuces, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is not the way a player like this thinks you play one pair that's not ace-king here. It is, though, because you're in position. You're so much stronger. And I really feel like he had ace-queen, and he folded. You know, and that was a big win. You know, we increased our stack 50% in a spot where I really think we were chopping a huge portion of the time. Huge. You know what I'm saying? The only thing I was worried about was that the 10 might have hit him on ace-10, but I don't think he's raising that wide. I think this guy's minimum to 3-bet out of position like that was exactly, was exactly an ace, and ace-queen's the only one. Because, you know, on the flop, you know, he bets standard, and then he checks the turn, but he just calls. I mean, when he calls here, he has to have an ace. So maybe he's got the suited ace queen, or no, he couldn't have the suited ace queen of hearts. He would have jammed. So he's got an ace here. I really think he's got an offsuit ace queen. I know he doesn't have ace king because when we jam the river, there's no way you fucking fold. There's just no way. We're still in the rebuy period. So this to me was a chop pot that we got him off of. I really think it was, and I'm so proud that I played it that way. Ooh, here's a fun one. 6-7 on the button. We decided to go ahead and open. Been fairly active, but our stack leverages well because of, our in relation to these other stacks. So we decided to go ahead and raise. We're near the bubble at this point. It is a weird, or not near the bubble, we're near the end of re-entry. So it's a weird dynamic. I decided to go ahead and take the call because his raise was not enough, I don't think. It just kind of seemed weird. And I felt like I wasn't going to go that... I mean, I was going to do okay. I could maybe cash. But I felt like I wanted a situation to come up where I could do well. And 6-7 is all the way live cards. So I called it for a myriad of reasons. Mostly because I wanted to either do well in this tournament or be eliminated. Because I didn't want to sit there hanging around. And I didn't want my button raises to be ran over. So we make a 7 on the flop. It's an interesting thing because a stop and go is going to work a lot here. But obviously versus when he has a king or queen. He goes ahead and bets a third pot. I have 20 big blinds. I decide to go ahead and jam it. His raise pre-flop just seemed to me like it was a pair. And the image that I got in my head was jacks. I think he wanted to race it by the size of his bet. So I went ahead and shipped it, and it worked. And it was the kind of situation that I wanted to create because my read pre-flop was that he had a pair. And when he has a pair, if it didn't trip, then I'm going to win this pot. So there's no point in calling here, right? So if that was my pure read was that he had a pair, I should just be jamming here all the time. Because what pairs does he have that he can beat on this board? Aces, cool. Kings and queens, very cool. But his raise was too big for that pre-flop, right? Like out of position versus my stack, he should be 3-betting those to 5.5. He made it 7. So I feel like he had like a pair of 10s or 9s. I guess jacks is too much credit, but it all kind of plays the same. You know, people are afraid of jacks. And then he bets the standard C bet, and it's like, okay, I can't fold here because I've hit a pair, and this kind of goes with my plans. So I gave myself every opportunity to win and jammed it in, and it just made sense. It made sense to me. I know it sounds weird, but my read was very much that he had a pair pre-flop. Pocket duckies. We 3x. This player limped out of first. I mean, I don't know what that is, but it's not a thing. So I 3x'd it instead of going 2x because I wanted to add a little, pepper because of his limp. He does call, of course. The flop comes off 6a6. Before you make this c-bet, ask yourself, what is he limping? What is he limping? I want to hear the answer. If somebody has a read, what is this guy limping out of first that he's calling a raise with? I mean, I'd be curious to see what people say. I know there's not many people here, and Punisher, it's the only guy chatting, but Punisher, if you're here, man, what does this guy have when he limps and calls out of first? 7 deuce suited. No, that's funny. No, but seriously, what does he have? Like, what's the range that limps and calls a raise out of first? No idea? Okay, I'm going to make you a lot of money right now and tell you what it is. It's a pair. It's a pair of fives. It's a pair of fours. It's a pair of sevens. You know what I'm saying? It's a hand that a player with this many chips doesn't want to risk much with, but so he doesn't want to raise. He doesn't want. It is not good enough for him to raise. Like he wants to fold it, but he doesn't. He's not able to fold pocket fives in first. At a full table, pocket fives in first position. Look at any chart. It's a fold, unless you're like at 12 blinds or less. I think it's a fold, man. If you have fucking like more than 15 blinds, pocket fives is a fold, out of first. So when that's the case, I'm behind, but there is no way for him to know that. I raised pre-flop. There's no way for him to know that. So we just go ahead and bet standard. Like, this is one where I know I'm beat, but there's no fucking way he can call because of this ace. You know what I mean? I love these spots, man. If you do a little bit of thinking about them and understand the ranges, it all makes sense, and you can steal these real easy. So this will make you a lot of money. Be aware of this. The people are afraid that somebody's trapping out of first. No, because when I raise, he's going to re-raise. You know what I'm saying? Unless we're both super deep and he wants to trap for a lot, I have 25 blinds left. He's just going to re-raise, and I'm going to get the money in with ace king or pocket jacks or something, right? Just because I can't fold. So jack 8. Oh, here's another great one. I decided to limp the small blind. Jack 8 is part of my raising and limping range. It's kind of like I'm supposed to raise it like 70% out of the small blind when folded to, and I'm supposed to limp it like 30%. There's even it's like 28%. There's even like a 2% chance you're supposed to fold with this stack, but I'm not doing that, man. I'm not a computer. I'm a person. So I decided to go with the limp this time. Flop comes off. We get an open ender. Pretty good. I just make a standard one blind bet. You know what I'm saying? It's a third of the pot. Like, we have tons of equity. Player calls. Pick up a diamond draw on the turn. I decided to go ahead and check just because I don't want to get blown off the draw, right? It's pretty standard. The river comes off a 3. We're usually beat here. So we just go ahead and bet for value. So it looks like we made our hand. Players will fill in the blanks here and think you have 4-5 where you made a straight, or maybe you have king 9 and you just have way too many, you have 2 pair, you know what I'm saying? But it's very hard to call here with a 7, and I don't think the player had a 9. So I think checking the turn was important because that's a scare card, and if we don't like the scare card, he don't like the scare card, then we're usually ahead on this flop because he's usually calling with like a 7, you know what I'm saying, 7-8, 6-8, things like that. I don't think we get him to fold a 9 here, but I think it's important to make these bets because there's so many intangibles when he doesn't have a 9. You know what I'm saying? I can have a straight, I can have 2 pairs, I can have a 9, I can have a king for sure, man. So it never looks like a busted flush draw, right? But we just bet and take it down. I think it's important to recognize those. 87. I decided to go ahead and raise this one. I will open suited connectors even on this stack because when we get these in multi-way post-flop, we're usually doing well. And I only have 22 big blinds to start the hand, or 21. So it's kind of important. So I get called by the cutoff, and the big blind makes a very weird raise. Doesn't make any sense, right? Like, even if you had aces, you kind of want to commit me to the pot, right? Like, so if I have pocket 10s, even making a small raise with pocket aces here isn't a good idea. Because even with pocket tens, this is going to scare the shit out of me. And I'm just going to call it and try to see a safe flop and then get the money in, right? I'm not going to jam on you. Sorry, I've been talking too much. So this bet to me seemed like just a super squeeze, and I hadn't seen this player do anything before, so I feel like he was squeezing but didn't have the balls to make the proper bet. The proper bet here when you squeeze is 8 big blinds. And the reason why it's 8 big blinds is because you want 8-7 to fold. You know what I'm saying? You don't want a guy with this much equity and position to call you for 3.6 blinds into this insanely valuable pot. Of course we do, and the other player calls as well. So it costs us 3.6 to play for a pot of over, what is that? 16, 17, 18 blinds? I mean, dude, you fucked yourself. So we make a pair, right? Now he checks, which is super shocking, right? But this is a funny scenario because we now have all the equity, and this was during a re-entry period, and typically we're going to have the best hand here because when he checks, if we're willing to jam, we're just saying we have a queen, right? We have ace-queen. The player behind with ace-queen would have 3-bet. It's a very hard call here to make with queens, or with a king-queen. It's a very hard call here to make with jacks. He never has kings, so if this player doesn't like this flop, jamming is the only play. And there's just too much in the pot, right? So in that situation, you needed to go bigger to isolate or he needed to go bigger to isolate to protect your hand. Yeah, he did. This player, Skyward, he needed to go bigger. He needs to go 8 big blinds because you don't want 8-7 in here, right? Because this hand's going to flop too much equity even versus aces, right? Like even right now, I still have 40% equity, which means, or I still have 40% to win, which in Poker Tracker basically is telling me based on the cards in my hand and the board, I'm going to win this 40% of the time. Now I know this, right, on the spot, but with 40% equity and only this many chips left for this pot, I only need 31%, right, to get the money in. So I kind of have to do this, right, for long-term profitable play. Now, in the real world, am I getting trapped by aces here a lot? Yeah. But in all honesty, I have all the 8s. I have all the 7s to win me if that's the case. I can get a backdoor straight or flush draw. Like, seriously, there's a lot of equity here. I think versus pocket aces, let's count it up. Okay, let's count it up. Let's say he has pocket aces. I'm not going to spoil it for you what he has. So let's say he has pocket aces, right? So that's one pair. So I can hit 2 8s, right? Which nuts it pretty much. I can hit a 7. So because there's 2 8s, there's 3 7s, right? Now, if any spade comes off, right, that's not the ace of spades, of which there are 9 left, because we're going to take the ace out, right? Let's take the queen out too. So there's 8 left, because I don't want the board to pair off, right? Because that takes away some of my outs. So there's 8 good spades for us, okay? The chance of getting running spades here when there's 8 good ones for us is about 16%. So that equals out to about 4 additional outs. We basically have 8 cards we have to hit runner perfect. So I'll count that as 3 outs instead of it's 8 outs, because it's 8 outs to win 1 and then it's 7 outs to win the last card that we need. So we're talking about improvement, and we're just talking about number of outs, right? So we're going to add 3. Just this is the thing I do. So 3 7s, 3 of those spades, we're going to count that, and then 2 8s. So that's 6. That's 8 cards. Okay. Then we can hit straight cards, 5s, 10s that aren't in the spade draw and arena, right? Those are good for us. A 5 or a 10 is excellent for us because then it opens up to a 6. It opens up to a jack, running straight cards. I'm going to count all those as another 3 outs. So 3 of the spades, 3 of the straight outs, 3 of the 7s, and 2 of the 8s. That's 11 outs. If we count it that way, our actual equity is about 44%. So this is very close to true odds right here, counting everything. So I think the jam here is just so good, because if you have pocket jacks here and you're this dude out of the blind, like, do you ever call here? Do you ever call here with ace king? If you do, fine, I'm crushing. But do you ever have ace queen? The only real hands I'm really worried about him having is pocket queens and pocket aces, specifically I think pocket kings even bets the flop because you'd want to get the money in, right? And with these players, you would just keep betting. I think this is a bad way a player plays an overpair. So I'm 100% in love with this move. The real problem is over here. I think this player had a bigger chunk of the board than me, and we got him off of it, especially in game with timing, because it took a long time and then he folded, and we did get called and hit our 8 right on the turn, so that's pretty damn good for us. And he did have pocket aces, and it was the worst way to play pocket aces in this scenario because it wasn't like he had 100 blinds and we had 20. You know what I'm saying? It was this pre-flop thing here. This is stupid. He has like 43 blinds, 44 to start the hand, and I have 21. I have half your stack, bro. This is not the way you play aces. Yeah, 3 big blinds cost him exactly. You know what I'm saying? It cost him huge. So on this flop, if he makes it even 7 big blinds, I would call that the minimum. Sometimes if a proper squeeze is 8.5 blinds, but I have aces, I'll back it off a little. I'll make it 7 or 7.5. I'm not making it 5.6 because you're just goading somebody to crack your aces, dude. Like, your aces still have to stand up. There's a big thing. There was about 3 weeks ago, there was a famous poker player, I forget his name, who he played aces like they were jokers on a televised thing. And he did it because of his stack size. And since that came out, I'm seeing so many more players online playing aces and kings like they're jokers. They're not, bro. Like, they get cracked all the fucking time. So he just cost himself half his stack. And no joke, this put me in a position to do very well. This was the one where I came in 12th, I believe, in the tournament. We were still very far away, but this chipped me right up. It's crazy, man. 50 big blinds right here. I just kind of took it over. Oh, Courtney's home. All right, we're kind of long into the stream here, but I want to get through the rest of these hands. How long have I been on? About an hour. How many more hands do I have here? Hey, baby.
Hi, Chuchi.
Chuchi's so happy to see you. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I don't have that many hands. So let's go to the next one. Where is it? Is this the one I'm on? No, that's the 6, 7. I can't see my grid here. Hang on a sec. Where's the 8, 7? There's the 8, 7. Okay, so here's the next one. All right. Oh, come on. There we go. 9, 8 suited. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just power through these. There's a lot of hands here. We see an open to 2 big blinds in second. We go ahead and just call it because suited connectors, obviously. Make the 8 again. Kind of similar situation. Player bets micro. This is going against the grain. He should be betting like 2.75 here. Again, it's a small thing, but he backed it off about a full blind, which is way too much. And he's got a huge fucking stack. So this is just one of those flick bets. I decided to go ahead and pot it because I'm obviously never folding here. I just have too much equity. Again, we see the 48% right here through Poker Tracker. So when nobody has a pair, or it's hard to make pairs. So we just go ahead and pot it, take it right down. And this player had 100 blinds. So it's not like he was afraid of us, but again, he just doesn't want to give it away. So there we go. We're leveraging our stack really well. Did he really get excited right there? Mm-hmm. Oh my God. I had a bad morning with them already. King, Queen, thank you for handling that. Mm-hmm. King, Queen on the button. We min open. We see a defend in the big blind. Pretty standard. Comes off 10, 8, 6. I don't see much reason to bet here because our king's going to stand up all on its own. My phone is getting scammers. So we just go ahead and check. The turn comes off at 8. He leads at us now. It doesn't seem like there's many hands here that are going to want to lead except for an 8. I don't think you even lead a flush draw here. I think it's a bad move. Or, sorry, you don't lead a flush draw here. You kind of let me bet because I had the lead pre-flop. So I think you're going to only lead an 8, which is super rare. There's only 2 left in the deck. And you're going to lead a good flush draw like the ace of spades. And in that case, we can bluff you off of it. We go ahead and call. The river comes off a spade, which is obviously is not the best for us. But the player only has 15 blinds and he checked. I don't really think he's ever trapping here. I think most of the time he has a 10. Sometimes he can have a 6. I guess he can have an 8. It kind of depends how much he understands the dynamic of this board. But I could easily have the ace of spades here, right? Didn't want to c-bet with ace-king offsuit with the ace of spades. Turn comes off, pick up the 8 draw, pick up the nut draw, the nut spade draw, so we call his bet, and then the river comes off and we make the spade. Kind of makes sense, right? So I go ahead and just bet, polar. This looks like a good large value bet, 70 3/4 pot bet, and it's for half his chips, and he folds. So it's a good example of, you don't have to c-bet every flop to win the pot. Sometimes not, because if I c-bet that flop, I think he check raises a lot of more hands on me, and then I have to just give it up because this hand has almost no equity. Ace king suited. So we see a limp in the small blind. We go ahead and make it a pot-sized raise because we have a premium hand, and we make the ace. And this is one where I just reacted quickly. This is a good example that Matt Affleck was talking about reacting quickly and badly, meaning betting too small but doing it right away. So the other player, if they have an ace, they're just going to call you down. So I very quickly bet very small, like 1/4 of the pot. He just called it. The turn comes off, and now I bet very incorrectly for half pot very quickly. Player calls it, and he checks, and I go ahead and jam it all in because now, look, we're both about the same in chips, and there's obviously never a fold here. I would like anybody watching to think what's the worst hand you're going to call all in here with. And keep in mind, we're deep. We're in the cash at this point. We were both kind of mid-short stacks. But what's the worst hand you're going to call here with? And it's going to take a second if anybody wants to think about it. It shouldn't be this. This is definitely a hand where the dude could have gotten away. But we made our hand look like such bullshit by making that pot bet pre-flop, that micro bet on the flop, that stupidly small bet on the turn, and then all in on the river. We walked him right down the line and got super paid. And if he had hit the 5 on us, it's just a bad beat, so I'm never afraid to do this. But this is one where our hand is so strong that this is the best way to get all the money in. Because if we just bet like standard on the flop and then 2/3 on the turn, I think he just gives it up and keeps 15 big blinds, but we don't want that. I went too far. 9-8 suited. We see a raise in first. We go ahead and call. We flop the flush draw. Obviously good for us. We have a lot of equity. It checks. I decide to go ahead and bet big. I'm making it look like I'm protecting my hand with a king against the flush draw. This is kind of a reverse semi-bluff. Obviously, if we get raised, we're getting the money in. But here, I'm basically trying to represent that I have king-queen. That's my plan. Player calls. He checks. We do jam the turn because that's exactly what I would do with king-queen. And he folds. What did he have? I don't know. Does not matter. 4-3 offsuit in the big blind. We see a min open out of second and a call out of fourth. This player folds. Here's the open ender. Did we do this one? No, we didn't do this one. This is a big pot. I think it was a similar situation, but we didn't do this one yet. So we see a check, check, check. And obviously we wanted to get the money in. We only have 10 big blinds. And even though these players have way more than us, we can still hurt them for a lot. This is the tournament that we came in 12th in, so we're probably down to 2 tables. Yeah, there's a player missing. So we're probably at like, we're at least at 15 players left, right? Because this is very late in the day. Yeah, there's only 4 more, 5 more, 6 more hands. We could be at 3 or 4 tables, I guess. So we could be at 28 players, right around there. So we're low, but we're not in last. You know what I'm saying? If there's 28 players, we're in like 18th, maybe 19th. So, because there was a lot of short stacks at one table. So turn comes off. We go ahead and bet here, and we're doing this with our draw. And there's a lot of river cards that we can bet. I believe we can bet all clubs. I believe, obviously we can go for the ace, the 6. Also any paint card, really, because I don't think anybody has a king. So I think there's so many good cards, bluffing spots for us, that we're going to leverage our stack again by betting 3 here. We do get called. This is usually a spade draw, because I think the club draw would have bet on the flop. He could even have a 10, I guess. The 10 on the river makes it far less likely. we just go ahead and shippy dip, and I just think he's got a busted draw a lot. I know he never has a king. He could definitely have pocket jacks. With 3 players in the pot, I don't think you would c-bet. I'm risking my whole tournament. We're super deep, and he folds. Nut low, and he folds. How you like that one? Pocket kings. Is this one of the ones I lost? Let's see here. We make it 2 big blinds. Player calls here. Call here. Ace on the flop, right? Never anybody's favorite. But these players are in the blind, and we didn't get 3 bets, so it's not likely they have an ace. It goes check, check. We decide to check back because what's the point in betting? If we bet and get called, we're kind of beat, right? Unless the guy's got exactly a heart draw. But if this player has a heart draw, he's just going to check jam on us, and then we're going to have to fold the best hand. We only have 11 blinds, right? So we're leveraging our stack by checking. We see a 1 big blind bet. There's no real point in raising here. This player has 40 blinds, right? So if we raise here to like 5 big blinds and he has the king of hearts in his hand, he's going to call, right? So we want to give ourselves the best chance to win the pot outright, so we don't want to make him play correctly against us, where if we make it 5 big blinds and then he jams, I mean, am I calling it off with kings here, even for my last 6 big blinds this deep in a tournament? I really don't think so. So I don't want to get blown off my hand. So I just go ahead and call. We see a safe river versus the king of hearts, and we just check because again, there's no point in really betting. And this is a very simple hand, and it just shows, you know, he had a gut shot and a shitty flush draw. So I don't think we would have gotten much value, but this is one where we easily, if we had bet at any point, we could have easily been bet off of our hand. Because let's say we c-bet the flop, he's probably going to take a card off. Believe it or not, with pocket 4s, it's proper to take a card off. And then when the turn hits, he's gonna check and we're gonna check back. And then when the river hits, he's going to bet. And I don't think I can call anything on this river, even though I have kings. I think I'm supposed to fold here 100% if that's the betting structure on the river here. So we just kind of played it safe and understood the value of our hand instead of trying to bluff someone off an ace, which is never a good idea. Uh-oh, pocket kings again. We make a min open. Oh, yeah. I remember this one. We see a call, and we flop the nutter butter. There's not a lot you can do here. Like, the player's in the big blind. We're just kind of praying he has a 3. But if he does, all the money's going in, so there's no point in really betting. So we check. The turn comes off a 5. He now leads at us for half pot. That's pretty awesome. He could have a flush draw, right? So we call. The diamond comes off. That's kind of the best card in the deck for us. He checks, and I decide to go for a small value bet because if he has something like a jack, maybe he'll call. Like he may have made a 5 and he just thinks we're full of shit. So this is like, I'm betting small because I don't think there's much for him to call us with, because all the other hands, a 3 gets the money in or diamonds gets the money in. You're not going to fucking believe this. He had ace 3. How does the money not go in? Like, he was that afraid of a diamond. Like, if I had just raised the turn, the money goes in automatically. But with him playing the hand like that, I really think he might have folded. So, as crazy as it is, I think we made the max. I think this player is so terrified. Like, he should just be getting the money in. On this flop, he's got a set of 3s, or he's got trip 3s, man, with an ace. The only hand that I have him in trouble with is king 3 or pocket kings exactly. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And I can have aces here. If I have aces and you have ace 3, man, you have me crushed. How do you not get 18 big blinds into this pot? It's crazy. Like, this is a player who... This is why I get to steal pots. It's because players fill in the gaps in their head and always think they're beat, and they level themselves. So I'm amazed. That's why I marked that one. Ace 10 of hearts. We raise. And we just steal it. This was on the Stone Cold bubble of the second tournament that I did well in. And I just wanted to put it as an example because this is a spot I used to miss. I used to be too tight here. I had 17 big blinds. Obviously, the majority of the people know you should open here. I used to miss this spot a lot, so I tagged this one just for me because I'm proud of the fact that I bet it every time now. You got to reward yourself for doing things right. So we're deep in this tournament. This is the one I went out 12th, so we're probably down to like 2 or 3 tables. We've got to be down to 2 tables. The blinds are huge. We see a min open, and it's standard, but this player had been doing this he'd had kind of a loose range. So Queen Jack here can 3-bet about 30% of the time. And I decided that since I had good chips and I was in a good, I was playing well, I decided I would take that 30% and 3-bet. And I 3-bet super small because this effect now in the tournament, because we're so deep, like, check this out. Hang on. Like, now, this is significant, right? The blinds are 20, 40,000. We have a million. This guy has a million, 1.3, 1.9, 1.3, 2 million. Like, so we're to the shorter stacks, but we can hurt everybody, right? So in that case scenario, I want to put most pressure on the guy I can hurt the most, and I can eliminate him from this tournament. So he makes a min open. I go ahead and make the small 3-bet, which is proper at this blind level, and he just folds. And this is a good spot to recognize because we were able to pick up, a huge chunk there. Those extra blinds are seriously good for us at this point. Picking up an extra 3 or 4 blinds is huge. All right. Ace 8 suited. I think this folds to us. The table have been playing very tight. This is down to 2 tables. I'm pretty sure. So we make an open. We get called on the button. This is never proper for him to call on the button. We make the spade draw. We obviously don't want to lose our minds. So we check back because I don't want to get blown off the draw. A 9 on the turn. Now we bet. And it's like we didn't c-bet the flop standard, right? We decided to check. So we could just have the world, right? He decides to go ahead and call. The river comes off a 6. And we make the big bet on the river. This is very hard to call with a 9. It's super hard to call with a pair like 7s or 10s. I don't think this player ever has a jack because he would have betted on the flop. But he should call it, but I don't think this player specifically will with king jack. So he folds, and we go ahead and just take it down. And this is that don't be afraid thing. You just got to keep on betting, man. Here's another one. Just like I said, there was a lot of examples of that. We min raised. The player in the big blind defended. Very standard at this point. We have an ace. We should be good a lot. I decided to go ahead and check to trap. Because what's the point of betting here, right? He leads out at us now for an improper bet. If he's got a value hand, he should be betting a little bit bigger than this. He is a big stack, so we're kind of goading this action. We go ahead and call. The river comes off, and it's a check. And I go ahead and just bet now. And I'm betting for value. I'm making the bad bluff size. I don't think he ever has much, so he just folded. But I was never scared of losing this hand. It was just a matter of how do I make the most. Like, there's no difference here if I have ace-king or if I have ace-9. Like, just because of the structure and the position and his perceived range. There's no difference. So why not go ahead and make some money? We see a limp. We go ahead and call with the ace, or we just check with the ace-deuce because we want to keep our range wide. We have the best hand a lot, but there's no real reason to bet it. Make a deuce on the turn. I decided to go ahead and bet because I do have some showdown value, and if he has nothing, but he may call a bet. And every blind now is important. I mean, again, we're only betting one big blind, but it's 60,000 chips. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of huge. So he goes ahead and calls. The river comes off a jack. Now we could bluff it, because I said I have the ace of hearts in game, but I said I don't think I need to. I think I just win here a lot. So I just went ahead and checked, and he did have ace-9, which if he had raised pre-flop and then bet the flop, we just fold. But the way it was, I knew my deuce was good. I got a little bit of value out of it, and I didn't risk anything by bluffing the river. It just was unnecessary. All right, I believe this is the last hand for review. We're out of the big blind. Let's see. We have 3 million chips. Yeah, we're down to... we got to be down to 2 tables by now. I think we're like 15 players left. So we got 3 million chips at 12 big blinds. It's a pretty damn good stack. Although there are bigger stacks around us. We're sitting in like middle of the pack, like 8th, and we had all the big stacks on our table, which happens sometimes. We see a min open. We go ahead and call. The flop comes off. Usually better for the opener than the defender. But he's only got 15 big blinds, and look at the size of this c-bet. Nah, brah. That's about a quarter of the pot. So we're gonna go ahead and float your ass. We make the spade draw and gut shot on the turn. We check. He checks back. There is no reason to not bet here. We just bet 2/3 pot because we will cripple him if he loses. I think he can even have a queen here. Sometimes he can have jacks, but he is not in a hero calling headspace. So having the ace of spades blocker is absolutely important here. And I think it just shows that you can still float late in tournaments. Like, you don't have to give that move up just because you're down to 15 players. And that's significant because it gave us, a nice sized little boost to our stack. Is that the end? Oh my God, finally. All right. So we got through it. It was 30 hands. That's crazy. It's gonna be kind of it's gonna be a fun day. I'm not sure if I'm playing MTTs today. I'm definitely playing something, but I'm not sure. It kind of depends. Mondays, I love playing Mondays, but I did have a kind of late night last night. But whatever. So let me see here. I'm gonna go ahead and send you guys to a stream that you probably have never seen before. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to make it a... I'm going to send you to a excellent streamer. She's amazing. She plays games, and she has Tourette's. And she's dealing with it by streaming it on Twitch. And she's huge. If you know her, she's Sweet Anita. If you don't know her, dude, get into it. She's hilarious, and she's got a great sense of humor about herself and her condition, and it's very educational, and I think people should learn about it. And she's fun to look at, too. So we're going to go ahead and host her, and I will see you guys later.